In the past, Damon would have been terrified of such a scenario. If people found out that he and Jessica had gone to a hotel room together, and especially if she had appeared to be drunk, then everyone would have assumed the worst. He would be expelled from the university, and his parents would be heartbroken. But that was the past. Damon didn't have money then, and the power of money can't be underestimated.
Actually, I'm going to call the police myself.
Damon took out his phone and immediately called 911. Jessica and Noah were aghast. Their plan had been to blackmail Damon and take his money. When that money had run out, they would blackmail him for more. It had all seemed so simple, but there was a flaw in the plan. Damon wasn't scared. Not only was he not scared, but he wanted to involve the police himself. 2 police officers arrived within a few minutes, and Damon, Noah, and Jessica were taken down to the station.
Don't worry, babe.
Noah said to Jessica,
You know my uncle's high up at the station. This idiot thinks it'll all be over when he gets there, but he's in for a shock when he meets my uncle.
Jessica smiled, hoping that the bad days were behind her.
I believe in you, my love, and I want us to start over.
When they arrived at the police station, it was so familiar to Noah that he felt as if he had arrived at his own house. As soon as he got out of the car, a middle-aged man approached him.
Hello, Uncle Don.
Noah said with a smile on his face.
What's happened?
Don asked anxiously, skipping the pleasantries. Noah had called to warn him he was on his way to the station to report a heinous crime, and that his girlfriend was the victim. A serious disagreement had recently occurred in the Hudson family, and Don was still at loggerheads with his brother Bill, who was Noah's father. Bill Hudson had been arrested and was currently residing in the prison. The crime that he had committed wasn't a serious one, but even if he had wanted to bail his brother out, Don wouldn't have been able to. Apparently, the upper echelons of the police had decreed that no one could bail Bill Hudson out of prison. Don knew that his brother had offended some people he couldn't afford to get on the wrong side of. Since Bill wasn't around, Don naturally had an obligation to protect his nephew. When he heard that Jessica had been in the hotel and had almost been raped, he was so angry that he wanted to beat Damon up himself.
Son?
Don said to Damon,
This is a very serious matter, and you're dealing with me now. You've jeopardized your university career. Make no mistake about that.
Damon shrugged his shoulders and replied disdainfully,
I'm sorry, but you have no idea what really happened. Noah tried to hook me up with this piece of trash.
Damon looked at Jessica.
And I just can't seem to get rid of her.
Jessica glared at him.
How can this loser be so cocky?
She wondered. After all, when Damon had been chasing after her back in the day, he had been painfully shy.
Let's see how long you can keep up your bravado. You'll find things are very different in a police cell. Maybe you'll be more sensible and confess what you've done after you spent some time in there.
But locking Damon in a cell at the police station wasn't enough for Noah.
You're being too easy on him, Uncle Don. Can't you go and find some murderers or something and put them in the cell with him?
Don smiled dryly and said,
Take it easy, Noah. You should be happy with what I've done already.
Meanwhile, Damon was led into the cell and had his phone confiscated. He was more than a little worried at how things had turned out.
If I can't get in touch with Thomas, I could be in serious trouble.
He thought. As he noticed some large men making their way toward his cell, he started to panic.
Looks like all the money in the world can't help me now.
As the men drew closer, he saw that one of them was Noah's uncle.
Thomas is incredible. I didn't even have to say anything and he's already arranged to get me out of here.
He thought.
You're free to go.
Don said impatiently.
Thank you.
Damon smiled at the police officer and made his way to the front desk.
Thomas, you're totally awesome.
He said as he turned the corner into the reception area. But it wasn't Thomas who was standing there. It was Tiffany.
Tiffany? What are you doing here?
He asked. Tiffany didn't answer. She just put her purse back into her bag and made to leave the station.
Did you bail me out?
Damon asked. Tiffany still didn't say a word. She walked out into the street. Noah and Jessica had clearly already left. Damon followed her, totally nonplussed. After all, he hadn't had much contact with her since the events at her house. After walking for about half a mile, Tiffany finally stopped and turned around. She looked ferocious.
Damon, why are you doing this?
What have I done? What do you mean?
I know that you've been interested in Jessica for years, and it was mean of her to dump you like that. But intimacy should be about romance and love, not forcing yourself on someone. I can't believe you did such a terrible thing to her.
She looked at him as if she was looking at a pile of trash.
What did that bitch say to you?
Damon snarled. Tiffany became even angrier because he was cursing.
She didn't need to tell me anything. The whole school knows that Jessica dumped you, and you tried to force yourself on her in the hotel.
But it was Jessica who seduced me.
Damon thought angrily.
The school's gone crazy about it, and the media have begun interviewing the students. They're asking questions about you, so I think it's better that you stay away for a while.
She took out a bank card from her pocket and continued.
Although things got screwed up last time, I promised to give you money if you needed it, so here it is. I can ask my sister to help you change universities. It's not the end of the world, you know. You've got good grades, so this episode may not harm your future too much.
She forcibly stuffed the bank card into Damon's hand.
Have you given Noah any money? To persuade him to drop this.
She avoided his eyes and then shook her head.
No, I told him to forgive you as a favor to me, a sort of symbol of our friendship.
Friendship? She must have given him a ton of cash before he left the station.
Damon thought.
Wait a minute.
He said through gritted teeth. It was true that Damon hadn't thought of Noah as a problem before that unfortunate incident with Jessica in the hotel room. After the Hudson family had collapsed, he hadn't thought at all about what Noah would do.
It turns out that Thomas was right. I'll have to deal with Noah if I want to make sure he won't cause me any more problems.
He thought.
What are you doing?
When she saw that Damon was making a phone call, Tiffany tried to stop him. But it was too late. Damon had already called Noah.
Haven't you had enough? You're just a student. It's hard enough to study properly without all this trouble going on.
She was right. None of it was easy for Damon. If someone was bullying him personally, that was one thing. He could bear it and swallow his pride. But he was adamant that the Serafino family couldn't afford to lose face. He knew that if he went to their home, they would demand to know what had been going on and would be none too pleased when he told them. The phone connected. Since Noah had received more than $100,000 from Tiffany, he was in a good mood.
Damon, are you out of prison?
He said cheerfully.
Well done. I'm impressed. I must tell you that I've heard about men who are happy to rely on women for money. But you're the first one I've seen who can mooch off a beautiful goddess like Tiffany.
Damon ignored what he said completely.
You're broke, right? That's what I heard anyway.
What?
Well, seeing as you've got no money, I'll pay for your impending funeral.
Damon then hung up the phone. Tiffany was furious about what she had heard.
Do you know what you're doing? You shouldn't mess with the Hudson family. You'd be crazy to provoke them.
It was true that the Hudson family had once been very powerful, but not anymore.
Don't worry, I can handle this myself.
Tiffany was so angry that she was almost hyperventilating.
Why is he being such an idiot?
She thought.
You can handle it yourself? Don't make me laugh. If it weren't for me, I don't know what would have happened to you in that cell today.
She suddenly heard Abigail's advice ringing in her ears about steering clear of Damon. Damon knew that Tiffany was trying to help him, but he also knew he had to deal with Noah.
Is that why you came to see me today? To talk about my beef with Noah?
Tiffany turned her head and answered.
No, I'm here to tell you that I've decided to fall in love.